Hi everyone, my name is Dana with Beautyque NYC. Thank you so much for being here tonight as we celebrate the 1-year anniversary of Beautyque NYC. Tonight we're joined by two very, very special guests who I'm very excited to introduce. First, we have Susanah Zeffiro. Susanah has been pioneering consumer-first solutions for the world's biggest beauty brands that harness the vast power of Spotify to drive business impact. She leads beauty partnerships at Spotify, where she consults brands on how to leverage audio advertising to create meaningful business impact. So welcome to Susanah. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much. And we also have Jaleesa Jaikaran, which we're very excited to have this evening and introduce to you. So Jaleesa is a makeup artist, a content creator, and beauty business coach. She primarily works with brands on campaigns, content creation, and product development projects. Her work has been featured in many publications like Elle, Glamour, Essence, Instyle, and Teen Vogue. She's the host and creator of the Life of a Makeup Artist podcast, a beauty podcast that gives you a real insider look with no filters on how artists really live. She shares everything from beauty talk to business chats with industry insiders and founders. So welcome, Jaleesa, and welcome, Susanah. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you. We are so excited to have you and very honored to have you with Beautyque at our anniversary party. So as I mentioned, Jaleesa and Susanah are both experts in their own fields in beauty and audio and using the power of audio in the beauty space. So I'm going to pass the floor on over to Susanah and Jaleesa. They're actually real life friends who met via Clubhouse, which we're going to, I'll let them tell their story. But with that, I'm going to pass the floor on over to Jaleesa and Susanah and take it away.
Thanks, Dana. This is so meta because we're going to talk about audio. And we met on an audio platform.
Literally.
Clubhouse, which is kind of amazing. Mm-hmm. And we have been friends ever since. It was instant love. And I feel like our relationship, like the things that we care about and talk about are pretty unique. So I'm excited to share them with everybody watching today. But I think we should just start with how you started leading the biggest beauty room on Clubhouse and how that sort of bleeds into the theme of today, which is beauty and audio.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you so much. I'm so excited. So for me, I'm always curious. And I think as a content creator, as an artist, or just anyone, I think curiosity always leads you down a path, whether it's a friendship or just learning something new. So Clubhouse was one of those platforms where I was like, oh, this is fun. I think like during quarantine, everyone was on house party. And then I use apps like Supergrade and Newness. So there's always something new that I think, I'm always obsessed with innovation. So I was spending a lot of time on Clubhouse. And of course, it was the winter time. So I was on there for hours, just like having conversations about beauty. And when I got onto the app, it was a lot of music conversations. But, as time progressed, a lot more beauty people started to come onto the app. And for me, I work in New York. I'm a makeup artist in fashion. And as we all know, those spaces aren't really always cut out for people like me to succeed. And when my whole quote or theme of anything that I do, I always say do it what you can with what you have. So that's how my podcast was birthed. I wanted to give people that don't necessarily have an attachment or an accolade or some type of celebrity client a space to share their voice, and that's the same kind of premise that I took my club in. I wanted people to hear someone and see someone that looks like them and sounds like them, no matter their age. And it's the same thing with my podcast. I have friends that are dope, but maybe they don't have 1 million followers on Instagram, and that's okay because their story and the lessons that they share are important, and I think they're super interesting. So essentially, that's what happened with the beauty room. We were having fun. We're doing beauty trivia nights, and we're having all these different conversations with brand founders, with artists, just and over time, it happened in February. My friend Dion, who invited me to the app, was like, your club is the biggest club, a beauty club. And I was like, no, it's not. But when I got onto the app, you couldn't even search for clubs. So it wasn't even in my every day, like, oh, let me go check. And I was like, no, it's not. And then ever since that, you know, a lot more brands, people like Susanah came onto the app and they're like, oh, what's this thing, you know? And it just started to go from there. So I think it's still honestly just the beginning. Of course, this is what this conversation is about, the beginning of beauty and audio and how what the future looks like. But it's been a really exciting ride because it's not just about like talking, it's a place to learn and listen and just to meet new friends, even outside of beauty.
So cool. So should we tell everybody how we met or what happened? I feel like, so I got onto Clubhouse. I was late to the game. I didn't get my invite until, oh gosh, probably March or February, a couple months ago. And I obviously am obsessed with the concept of beauty and audio. And as I first came onto Clubhouse, I was noticing that beauty was one of the biggest things being talked about. And that was so affirming for my day job in that I'm always kind of trying to educate beauty advertisers and beauty brands on the power of audio. And of course, I arrived at the beauty room, first stop. I'm like, beauty. And it was just like, oh my gosh. And then from there, I don't know what happened. I started attending your rooms, and then, or no, you had to let me in. Is that what happened?
Well, you could have still attended them, but I added you as a member.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what happened. So, okay. So on Clubhouse, I mean, I know they're changing things. It's always just an app that's evolving, but it's very like tedious you have followers and members in your club and you want people to remember because they get better notifications. And because I'm a Capricorn, I don't know if that means anything to anyone, but I'm just like, I'm on it, right? I'm like, I got to add people. So it actually like, I have like maybe like 50,000 people on forward side, and you actually have to click each person one by one. So that's how I came across your profile, because I was just like, all right, click, click, click. Because sometimes there are bots in there and you don't necessarily want to add the bots. So it's like a very manual and tedious process. And I saw your I didn't even look at your work title. I just saw the quote that you used in your bio where you said audio is the future of beauty. And I was like, oh my God, I need to talk to this. I just need to, you know, and I'm so like awkward sometimes. So I sent you a DM and I was like, oh, you know, thanks for joining my club. It's so exciting. It would be great to connect with you. And I mean, sometimes, you know, you never know if it turns into something if they just don't see it. But I was really happy that I actually came across your page, because sometimes I have friends that will like help me like add people because it's such a long process. But I'm happy that day I came across your profile and you were so cool. Like I was just like, oh, she's so nice, you know, and it kind of went from there. But I'll let you continue.
No, and I think that is something that we were meant to be in each other's paths, because what you work on and what I work on are so connected, and it's hard, you know, we're still on the very innovative end of it, right? Like it's not mainstream. There's a lot of education going on, a lot of consultation, a lot of proof of concept that I think a lot of, in my case, beauty brands need to understand, because audio is not visual and beauty is, you know, probably the most visual thing. You're used to the influencer, the branded content, print, and audio has so much potential to evoke connection, to create a new sensory connection with the brand. And you get that so much in that, and you're sort of like an audio first influencer, in my opinion, which I think is like the next wave of influencing. So you're like a true innovator, OG queen in this space, like paving the way. I'm serious. Like I haven't, I you know, have access to a lot of what brands are doing, and what you're bringing forward, I think is going to be the future. And it's just exciting to have a friend that we can now sort of talk about this and daydream about this and sort of manifest what is going to come of this whole audio revolution.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited about it. And I think that I know that there are so many articles popping up now about audio. And obviously, audio has existed, right? Podcasts are out there. There's so many things, but I think there is a different way to do it. Like when in December, I had this really weird dream that I had a game show, a trivia night on Clubhouse. And then like months later, like we're working with OPI and they're sponsoring like a trivia night. So like, who knew that would be a thing, you know? So I think it really is not even just about the audio space, but like how it could be used in different ways that people aren't thinking about yet. So
they're not thinking about it, and it is growing so tremendously. Like at this point, the proliferation of podcasts, even consumption, time spent on an app like Spotify, it's 3 hours a day. And there's so many moments in that 3 hours that you don't have a screen in front of you. You know, you're not working out, when you're doing your makeup, when you're glamming for day or night or whatever. Audio is a part of that consumer journey. And I think intercepting that and being a part of that and being relevant in that moment is something that audio provides, in a really special, unique sort of flavor of audio that you can't really grasp from something physical or watching a, you know, a tutorial or going through TikTok or Instagram, you know. So it almost has it's more evocative and more of like a feeling that you can convey. So yeah, that's where I think the potential really lies. Like the sound of beauty. Like I was having this earlier, just like these little, like, you know,
I'm like,
we were talking about that the last time we were hanging out, like the sounds of beauty and how we think they're so, like, if you get beauty and you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, that's like.
Exactly. But I would love to ask you as well, what is like, how have you navigated, and what has been like some of the successes you've had with Spotify and beauty brands? Because I do think that there is an element of like, oh, you might hear like an ad, but I was talking to someone yesterday and they were like, oh, I didn't even know Spotify had a beauty person. So do you want to share more on that?
Sure. Well, the reason they might not know, because it's me. I'm like a team of one. I'm one of one. And I have been at Spotify for 3 years, but I've only been leading beauty for the past year and a half. Started my job at the 2020 pandemic. So that was a really fun time to be entering a role within the beauty industry. But Spotify is it goes so hand in hand with the beauty experience. Like sort of what I was mentioning earlier, getting ready, winding up or down, getting confidence, that feel in myself, the thing that only music can provide, that goes so complementary with confidence and that self-empowerment, that sensual feeling, and coupling that with, you know, making yourself actually feel better and more confident with a physical product. Like I always sort of got that connection. And what I was saying before is that, you know, these big beauty marketers, and when I'm talking about the brands that I work with, it's your L'Oreal, it's Estee Lauder companies, it's Coty, it's Revlon. They're the biggest beauty brands in the world. And with that, they can be a little old school when thinking about things that work. And audio, like I said, I mean, it's not visual. If you can't, and you have to figure out how you can tell your product, not show your product.
Right.
And that has been a really big challenge. But I will say the progress that we've made and the education and the studies that we've done and the tests that we've done, it's proven to be as effective as video. It's proven to raise purchase intent, raise awareness, raise ad recall, raise sales, all these key KPIs that every beauty brand wants to know about, and audio can achieve that. And it's cheaper, it's more agile. You can surround a day in the life and moments and be super contextual, and it's so intimate too. Like you're in somebody's ears, like, and it's only you sort of speaking to them. So the power to be memorable and make an impact is tremendous. And some ways that we've really been able to innovate, an example that I love is through sampling. So the past 2020 was obviously, retail was very fractured. People weren't browsing the aisles of Sephora and Ulta like we used to. Like I used to pop into Sephora, just like do a lap, and like nobody was doing that anymore. And brands were launching new products, but it was really difficult to get trial into their hands for them to purchase the full size. Because, you know, we're always swatching in Sephora, and like the stuff I used to do in Sephora, I've been, oh, this looks like, I'm not doing that anymore. But you know what I mean? So, or even going to the counter to spray a perfume, things like that, nobody was doing. So what we were able to do on Spotify is lean into what our data was telling us around how users were streaming Spotify. And increasingly so, that's coming from Google Home and Alexa, as like their voice assistant is also their central home speaker.
Right.
And we realized that so many people were streaming that way. So why not serve a prompt to redeem samples, but solely through voice command? So we've created this now with Estee Lauder 3 times, and we launched it originally with NARS, which I know, let's talk about NARS next after this for your Clubhouse. And it's been so awesome. And the listeners are loving it. And it's, again, just one way that we can lean into how we know they're using the platform, what devices they're using it from, which Spotify has so much data. I mentioned it's almost 3 hours a day on average. And we have understanding of every single user on the platform. And sort of gifting them with sampling was just a cool, innovative edge where it was audio first, but also just so, you know, beauty first at the same time. So that's a fun example I have.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think you kind of explained like the next question I had, because I was wondering, like, what do you think brands can, you know, do to tap in, but the sampling and all of that, because I personally have heard that ad, and I told you this, I jumped when they were like, just say, you know, it was the advanced night repair, and it was like, you'll get a sample if you just say this. And I was like, oh my God, I mean, I have one. So I'm like, that is so cool. Like it's things that you've never like thought about. So that's amazing. But I know you said you wanted to talk about NARS.
I want you to tell everybody, because this is another reason I said NARS was the first brand to test sampling. They were the first ones to basically launch it, lean into those data insights, and bring sampling to audio and Spotify. And I love that NARS is thinking audio first for Clubhouse as well, because Jaleesa did it was a 3-part series, but she led a room that was branded by NARS. And it was just the coolest branded activation I've seen. And I love, and the party continued on to Instagram. So I think you should walk through how that happened, because that was a party. I was having so much fun with you guys. And it was like the whole time I was thinking, like, this is where, like, this is innovative and this is cool. And it's just so original. So talk about it a little bit.
Thank you. So NARS, so a lot of brands now are coming onto the platform, and my biggest advice to them is like, okay, well, what is the brand's ethos? Like, what do you stand for? Because we're not going to come onto Clubhouse and talk about a lip gloss or talk about a foundation. Like, yes, we talk about products and we talk about certain things, but if you want to have a branded conversation, it's like, what does this brand stand for? And what I love about NARS is that Dina, who is at the brand, she was like very much embedded into the conversation. So she knew what was happening. She knew who were the key players. So it wasn't just myself. There was 2 other I was about to say Clubhouse influencers, but 2 other artists and creators that were on the platform in the beauty space were also like leading rooms. So it was a 3-room series on all different topics, 1 on skin minimalism, 1 on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and then 1 COVID-19 predictions and what they, you know, think the makeup industry, the direction that they're going. And each room had different guests, from execs to makeup artists to, you know, artists at the brand itself at NARS. And it was very exciting because, one, it's like, I love and I respect that a brand came in and not say, well, we're just going to go into the space and do it ourselves. They came to the people that were already in the space and understood what those conversations look like. And then also it was nice that it was a great opportunity. So each conversation happened over a period of 3 weeks. It was actually my idea to do the after party because I had the last room. So I was like, you know what? I really want to tie this in because I think sometimes there's a disconnect where it's like not everybody that's on Instagram is on Clubhouse, and they might have an Android, or because that's still rolling out. I know it's live now, but it wasn't then. So they might be like, okay, you guys are talking about this. What does this mean? So I came up with this idea to have an after party with myself and the 2 other creators, Ian and Michaela, and we just talked about what we thought about the product. So it was a relaunch of their product. Actually, I have it right there because I use it all the time. It's the Pure Radiant Tinted Moisturizer, and they expanded the shades, and I just wanted to have a conversation about foundations, what they thought about the series, and what was cool. And another way that brands can think about this, because I know that, like you said, a lot of brands are old school. They're not necessarily looking to be like, oh, audio, let's wait, because there's all these articles talking about this is not going to do well and this is not going to do well. But I think there are ebbs and flows in everything. You know what I mean? So like some brands are just getting onto TikTok, and it's like, you know what I mean? So what I love is that it wasn't just Clubhouse. It was tied into other deliverables like stories, reels, and photos. So it really was like an all around, like a 360
platform.
Like it hit everything, so it tied in, and the Clubhouse was a bonus. So I think it doesn't, like, for me, I think you don't necessarily have to do it that way, but it is a way to play in the space if you're not 100% ready to like dive into, you know, audio. But I do think that brands that are taking the risk, or I mean, I wouldn't even call it a risk, but like just, you know, being innovative in this space, I think is going to pay off well for them, because now, you know, we see, like, personally, because I spend so much time on Clubhouse, like a lot of the brands are the founders that are on there. They're so familiar in the space. Like, people are now curious about their products. Like, they're building, like, it's not just about your brand anymore. It's like who's behind the brand. And I think even during the pandemic, the accountability that has happened over the last few, like, a year, especially, people want to know who you are, what you stand for, and Clubhouse is a great space to show up. So Christina of Jouer, Ron of Beautystat, Janine Lobel, like, there's so many icons on this app, and it's now like, oh wow, like I can just talk to you in a room. So I think that's the beauty of Clubhouse. The connections and the visibility is amazing. And I think that this is really just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what audio really means for beauty.
I totally agree. I feel like the community on Clubhouse, I know it's evolving a lot, but it's like everyone really wants to be there. And I don't know, the connections I found have just been so genuine, and everyone, it's just this open forum. And I love all the sharing. And I think it's definitely, I don't know. I mean, it's starting to really change the game from the demand that I'm seeing on my end too. Like, I think it really is turning the dial on people's awareness, and them just finally getting the fact that you can convey a lot, and in fact, almost be more impactful sonically through sound than, I don't know, people are, and you know, at the same time too, like, people like to multitask. Like, you can now, just like how we are with podcasts, and I love that Clubhouse offers that too. I mean, I could be folding my laundry and collecting all the best beauty stuff from you guys, or, you know, going up on stage or whatever. And it's just, I love the efficiency of it too, because you could do a lot at the same time and get such a wealth of like great information.
I 100% agree.
So I don't know what else we have to talk about. Hi, Dana.
Hey, I'm just popping back in. You guys, this has been so awesome. This has been such an eye-opening, ear-opening conversation for somebody, you know, who has seen a lot of the visual side of the beauty industry. But these insights from you guys are just super, super valuable. And just thank you guys so much for sharing, you know, just a little glimpse into all the knowledge you have. So I have a final kind of wrap up question to tie up your conversation, which has been so amazing. So you've already touched on this a bit, but for all the brands who are here tonight, or brands here at Beautyque, we work with really mission-driven indie brands who I'm sure would love to learn and have learned a lot from this conversation about audio in the beauty space, as a lot of them are, you know, just starting to tap into the, you know, visual things as well. But there's this whole space now that you guys have described so well. So if you had just one piece of advice or just one takeaway for all the indie brands, our brands here at Beautyque, everyone who's here watching tonight, if they're a brand founder, a small indie brand, or any size brand really, what would be your key takeaway in terms of the audio space? Would it be to, you know, start leveraging Clubhouse? Would it be to invest in a podcast? Like, what is your takeaway for the brands here tonight watching?
You can go first.
Okay. The same. I would say Clubhouse is a great place to start, because the beauty community on there is huge. And even if you just want to listen and learn, a lot of indie brands, like for instance, last night I had a room that wasn't anything sponsored. It was just like, because I really want this space to always feel like it's a place that you can always get information, and you feel like you're here to gain information and help. So last night we had a room with 8 indie beauty brand founders, and they're with this platform called Beautyque, and they were just sharing their experiences about winning Glossier or being their grant application or being part of like their the target version of that. And it was such a great room because there's so many budding entrepreneurs, there's budding like people that have brands that need help, and I think that having those spaces on Clubhouse with those indie brands gives them one, visibility, but then also helps them to connect with other people that are going through the same thing. Because I know entrepreneurship or anything that you're doing as an artist, like I'm on set with different people all the time. So for me to be able to talk to other artists, and that's one thing in the last year, we haven't been at Fashion Week. So there's no gathering of makeup artists or gathering of entrepreneurs. So it's a great place to start. And I think that obviously if you don't know where to start, like reach out to those key people, because it is a great place to connect and to make really valuable connections. Because I've been on here since end of October. The way that this app has changed and the type of people that are on here, like sometimes they might not say anything, but they're definitely listening and watching. So just jump into it. Like just jump into it, because you never know. Like I jumped into Susanah's DMs.
Love it.
Love it.
Love it. My advice to an indie brand or any beauty brand who's hearing this about ways to think about Spotify and ways to think about audio. One is start using Spotify as an extension of your social media. There are so many brands, you'd be surprised, that have branded hubs on Spotify. One that comes to mind, it's not a beauty brand, is Nike. They have hundreds of thousands of followers to Nike because people go to Nike to get playlists for when they're running and working out. Right. Make your brand that go-to hub of that fire stuff you want to play when you're using a product, when you're winding up, winding down. Think about it like that and how you can be complementary to your customer's beauty experience and her experience or his experience or their experience with your product. And also realize that, as witnessed by the conversation today, I mean, audio is about to is on an explosive trajectory. So as soon as you can start making that connection with your customers through sound, you're going to be getting ahead. Beauty is the last industry to really start grasping this. I've been saying it repeatedly, but you'd be surprised. I mean, the lack of visual, feature is definitely holding the industry back, but we know that you can be super successful through sound. So start thinking of Spotify that way. And then, start making it a part of your whole social story. Spotify widget next to your Instagram and next to your Twitter or whatever feeds that you have, TikTok, etc. So start thinking about it holistically and pairing that visual, social, and branding footprint with your sound and audio footprint.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This is, even just me here listening, this has been such an awesome learning experience. And to all the brands who are watching here tonight, I really hope, and I'm sure you have learned a lot from our two experts in beauty audio. I want to say a huge thank you again to Jaleesa and Susanah. We will put up their social media. Of course, please follow them. And if you haven't already, join the beauty room on Clubhouse. And thank you guys so much for joining, and thank you so much, Jaleesa, and thank you so much, Susanah. To everybody watching, again, thank you for celebrating our 1-year anniversary of Beautyque NYC with us. I hope you learned something. I'm sure you did. And good luck to you and your brands, of course. And we hope you harness the power of audio in beauty moving forward. So have a great night, everyone, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much.